Right now we're talking about expressing percentages algebraically, and it's something that comes up very often on the SAT Math section. Here's a question from the 2007 College Board practice test. If 75% of m is equal to k% of 25, k is greater than 0, what's the value of m over k? Well, first of all, k being greater than 0, most times we might ignore something like that. Basically, they're telling you if k were negative or if it were 0, this would kind of mess up our problem. So let's just assume it's a regular positive number. And then let's write out what they're saying. 75% of m is equal to k% of 25. Now the k%, I'm going to leave it out for a second. And let's say some percent of 25. Now if it were 4% of 25, then we would write 0.04 times 25. And if it were 55% of 25, we would write 0.55 times 25. But with a variable percentage, we can't do that because we don't know how big the number is. We don't know where the decimal would go. So the only other way to express k%, percent means per 100, so k% is k over 100, and that right there is k% of 25. So now that we have the sentence here, we need to find out what m over k is equal to. So we need m on the top and k on the bottom. So on the left-hand side of the equation, I already have m on the top. So I'm going to divide by 0.75, divide by 0.75. I've got some simplifying to do. I've got 25 over 100 is really 1 over 4. So I really have k on the top, I have 1/4 on the top, and I have 0.75 on the bottom. And 0.75, well, that's 3/4. So I'll replace it as 3/4. And so far we have m on the left because the 0.75 is canceled out. Now 1/4 divided by 3/4, dividing one fraction by another is something that most of us learn in middle school. It comes up a lot on the SAT. So m equals k, and now I've got 1/4 divided by 3/4. The way to divide one fraction by another is to multiply by the reciprocal of the bottom number. So that's 1/4 times 4/3. And of course, the 4's are going to cancel, leaving us with 1/3. So m equals 1/3 of k. Now we need m over k, so we'll get the k out of there. And m over k equals 1 over 3. Here's a problem from College Board's 2004 practice test. If 0.03% of n is 3, what's 3% of n? So 0.03%, well, if I told you that we were taking 45% of n, that would be 0.45 times n. So in other words, in order to go from the percentage form to the decimal form, we had to take the decimal that's there after the 45 and move it 2 spaces to the left. So similarly, if I'm doing 0.03% of n, when I take it from the percentage form to the decimal, I need to take that decimal and move it 2 spaces to the left. So I need to go 1, 2 to the left. So that's actually 0.0003 times n. And that 3% of n is equal to 3. Now we can do some algebra. Divide both sides by 0.0003. Divide by 0.0003. And now n equals whatever that divides out to. 3 divided by 0.0003, which is 10,000. So now that we know that n is 10,000, we need 3% of that. So 3% of 10,000 is 0.03 times 10,000, which is 0.03 times 10,000 is 300. So the answer to the question is 300, which is C. Here's a problem from another College Board 2004 practice test. Francis bought a stereo for X dollars and sold it at a 3% profit. Which gives the amount of Francis' profit? Well, if he bought it for X dollars, we're looking for 3% of that. Well, like we said earlier, if 45% is 0.45 when we go to multiply it in, then that means that 3%, we'd have to do the same thing. We take the decimal, move it 2 to the left, just like we did in the 45. So 3, move it 2 to the left, and it's 0.03. So we've got x times 0.03, or 0.03x. So the answer is A. Here's another problem from a 2004 College Board practice test. 3% of 4,200 equals 6% of what number? Okay, so 3% of 4,200 is equal to 6% of some number I don't know, which of course in algebra we call x. Multiply out on the left. 126 equals 0.06x. Divide both sides by 0.06, and 126 divided by 0.06 is 2,100. So we know x is 2,100, and the answer is B. Here's a problem from College Board's 2001 practice test. 7.5 is x% of 75. What's x% of 10? So let's just write out the sentence they gave us. 7.5 is x% of 75. So from there we should be able to solve for x. 7.5 equals 75 over 100x. And 75 over 100 simplifies down to 3/4. 3/4 of x. Now to get x by itself, we can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. And now x equals 7.5 times 4 divided by 3, which is 10. So now that we know that x is 10, they're asking us, well, what's x% of 10? So 10% of 10 is 1. And so the answer there is 1. I bet a lot of people on a question like that might have picked 10 because you go through your algebraic process and you almost forget what they're asking you for. But once we find out that x is 10, we need to plug that back in to find out x% of 10, which gets very confusing. Here's a problem from College Board's 2001 test. The ratio of A to B is 2 to 3. Where A and B are positive. X equals A increased by 50%. X equals A increased by 50%. Now 1.5a is A increased by 50% because the 1 signifies 100% and the 0.5 is the increase of 50%. Y equals B decreased by 50%. Well, anything starts at 100%, so if I'm decreasing it by 50%, that's 100 minus 50, which leaves us with 50. So this is B decreased by 50%. What is the value of x over y? Well, x over y equals 1.5a over 0.5b, which we can simplify by dividing both sides by 0.5. 3a over 1b. And from the very first thing we set up, if we had cross-multiplied that, 3a equals 2b, or b equals 3/2 of a. b equals 3/2 of a. So I've got 3a on the top, and on the bottom I've got b, which is 3/2 of a. A is on the top and on the bottom, so it cancels. And the answer is 3 divided by 3/2, which means multiplied by the reciprocal, by 2/3. The 3's cancel, and our answer is 2. Here's a problem from College Board's 2002 test. Which of the following is equal in value to 1 plus 100% of 1? The first thing they're asking us for is 1 plus 100% of 1. And if I'm going to multiply these two, I need to actually just move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. So that's 1 plus 1 times 1, 1 plus 1, which is 2. So the thing we're looking for is 2. Which of these is equal to 2? Well, 100% of 1, that's 1 times 1, which is 1. 101% of 1, that's 1.01 times 1, which is 1.01. 110% of 1, that's 1.10 times 1, which comes out to 1.10. 200% of 1, that's 2.00 times 1, which is 2.00, and that's our answer because we're looking to find out what comes out to 2. But E would have been 201% of 1, so 2.01 times 1, which is 2.01. So our answer there is D. D comes out to 2, and 2 is what we were looking for. Here's a problem from College Board's 2011 practice test. On the day of a rainstorm, the depth of the water at a certain location along the winding river was recorded hourly, and the results are indicated in the line graph above. Each unit on the vertical axis represents 1 foot. If the depth of the water decreased 10% from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., what was the depth of the water at 4 p.m.? Well, they said that each notch represents 1 foot. So each of these is a difference of 1 foot. And from 3 to 4, I know that the depth decreased by 2 notches to get from this height to this height. So I know that if I say that x is the original depth, I know that x minus 2 is equal to what it was later, which they said was a 10% decrease. 10% decrease would be 90% of what I originally had. So if I started 100, decreasing by 10, that leaves me with 90. So x minus 2 equals 0.90x. Now I can just do my algebra. Take away x from both sides. Negative 2 equals negative 0.10x. Divide both sides by negative 0.10. And x is 20. So our original depth was 20. We have to be careful though, because they want to know what our depth was, not originally. They want to know what it is at 4 p.m. So it had gone down 2 feet from the original 20. So it's 20 minus 2, which is 18. So the right answer there would be C, 18 feet.